Hey there, welcome to Pokédex, the channel where I build decks for the Pokemon trading card game. Today we're going to be playing Mega Rayquaza Metal. It's a very popular deck. In fact, I've seen several videos on this deck. And that's one of the reasons that I focused on other stuff, built some other decks for you guys. But right now it just feels right, you know? The World Championships are coming, and I think this deck is a serious contender. It's definitely powerful, and what it tries to do is, I guess, combine the best of both worlds. So we kind of have the Metal deck in here with the Aegislash and the Bronzong, and then we have the Rayquaza deck with a Shaymin support, trying to go all in with a Mega Rayquaza and deal 1-hit KOs starting from the second turn on. Of course, because this is not a dedicated Metal deck or a dedicated Rayquaza deck, we lose some focus, but hopefully what we lose in focus we will gain in flexibility. And yeah, I think this deck is really powerful. Actually, both strategies complement each other really well. Some games we want to go out with a Mega Rayquaza and start hitting 1-hit KOs as soon as the second turn. And other games, we just want to take our time and just use Aegislash and have Mighty Shield wreck our opponent's game, especially against those aggro decks that are being played nowadays. I will start looking at the deck list straight away, but first I'll just have to say that I based my list on Geoffrey Sock's list from his top 8 at US Nationals. I hope I'm saying Geoffrey's name right. And I did change some cards here, and I think I'll mention those as I go through the cards. So right off the bat, we're playing a 3-2 Mega Rayquaza line, and Geoffrey was playing a split between Rayquaza EX, the colorless, and the Dragon one. And I'm not playing any splits. I'm playing 3 colorless, and he was playing 1 dragon, 2 colorless. The reason for that is, I guess I understand what he was trying to do. I mean, the dragon one can attack non-EXs for 30 with a DCE, but I think those 30 damage are really inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. So I just decided to go with all out with the colorless one. It's just better, I guess, against Seismitoad decks and stuff like that, because it does attack for 60 with a single energy. So if we can manage to have like a Spirit Link on it, we can just drop an energy, and even if our opponent removes it, we can just drop a second one the following turn and just use Intensifying Burn again. So I guess that's better than just dealing 30 with a DC on the Dragon Rayquaza. That's why I cut it. So I'm playing a 3-2 Mega Rayquaza line. Obviously, because this is not a dedicated Rayquaza deck, we don't have Mega Turbos, but we won't be able to hit the Emerald Break on the first turn, but we will be able to do that on the second turn. So I guess we will have to settle for that. Then I'm playing 3 Shaymin EX. It's really good because of setup ability, and of course it's a body that we throw on the bench so that Rayquaza does extra damage. But it also works really nicely with the Metal deck, in that every deck likes to draw cards. So because we also play Skyfields because we need to, so that we can hit the 180 plus damage with a Mega Rayquaza, or else we would be stuck at 150, so we have to play the Skyfield, which in turn makes Shaymin really good because we can just drop them down even if we already have a lot of Pokemon on our bench. So as far as the Metal Pokemon go, we have 2 Aegislash EX in here. Obviously the focus is Mighty Shield, prevents all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from opponents' Pokemon that have special energy on them. So if they are playing aggro decks like Night March or Raichu, Aegislash EX is kind of something that they cannot easily kill. So they have to start charging up a Pokemon with basic energy, and that hopefully will give us time to have our engine going with the Bronzongs and all that. So even if they kill the Aegislash, what we are going to try to do is just Lysander out the Pokemon with a basic energy, or if they used it to kill the Aegislash, we just kill them, and then they have a hard time dealing with a second Aegislash. So hopefully that works. We have a 3-3 Bronzong line. It's really good to bring energy back from the discard pile, obviously, accelerate some energy in our guys, or just recharge after one of our attackers gets knocked out. A single Cobalion EX in here, obviously for Righteous Edge. A single energy, 30 damage, and you discard a special energy attached to the defending Pokemon, so we are focusing on trying to remove those DCs out of the Seismitoads. One thing we have to be careful with is having a tool on Cobalion EX, or else the opponent can Headringer us, and just means that we have to have the second energy in order to use Righteous Edge, which is just not as good. especially if the opponent is playing energy removal themselves. So yeah, Righteous Edge, pretty nice against the Seismitoad matchup. And of course, Steel Bullet also fixes some problems. If the opponent attacks with Safeguarder, for example, for 3 energy, you can just deal 100 damage and just ignore pretty much anything on the defending Pokemon. So Cobalion EX pretty good in that regard. And then we have Heatran, is our non-EX attacker. Also, if it comes down to that, it has 130 HP and actually two decent attacks in this deck because we're playing DCEs. Steel Drop, we can do that for just a couple of energy attachments, sorry, and it does 40 damage plus 40 if we have a Stadium in play, and we will definitely have a Stadium in play with this deck. So Steam Blast also does 130. It's an extra energy and we have to discard one, but it's really easy to do with the Bronzongs, as I've mentioned. So all in all, good Pokemon, and it's a non-EX. The last Pokemon that we're playing is Keldeo EX. If I could, I'd play an extra copy, but this deck is kind of stuffed though, so we have to settle for one. This Pokemon is really important against Seismitoad X and X that base themselves on special energy and energy removal, because we can use this guy to rush in and retreat, so it fixes the special conditions on our Pokemon, and of course it also allows us to recharge with Bronzong. So if the opponent removed an energy from our active, we can rush in, use Bronzong to recharge the energy on the previously active Pokemon, and then retreat with a Keldeo into the same Pokemon and attack again. So that works out pretty nicely. One of the Pokemon that I cut from this deck, actually the only Pokemon that I cut from Joffrey's list, was the Kecleon. I think Kecleon is decent against those aggro decks that I mentioned, against Raichu or something like that, just because he can knock them out with a single DC attachment. But I thought it was pretty terrible in pretty much all the other matchups, so I kind of cut it for a card that I felt like this deck really needed, which was an extra Floatstone. I think it's really important that we get the Floatstones on Keldeo early. In all the games that we need the Floatstone, getting it early on Keldeo is key, because if the opponent is playing Seismitoad, they will item lock us, so we cannot play the Floatstone past the first turn. So having the third one, I think, is really important in that regard. Let's start looking at the items. Well, I guess I already talked about the Floatstone, but we have a computer search in here. Obvious choice of Ace Spec. We have a single Sacred Ash. Helps us shuffle our evolutions like the Mega Rayquaza or the Bronzong, and also all the one-offs that we have. So if we need an extra Cobalion or an extra Heatran or even an extra Keldeo EX after our guys have been knocked out, we can shuffle them back. We have Trainer's Mail in here, a couple of them. This card I added in after I took the Battle Compressors out of Joffrey's list. Battle Compressor, I get what it's doing, but I never had trouble discarding Metal Energy with this deck. And I think drawing into the Ultra Balls is really good. If you guys remember from my deck analysis on Mega Rayquaza, drawing into the Ultra Balls for Shaman is really important. So Trainer's Mail helps us with that. And of course it also helps us draw into the Floatstones. So once again, it helps us draw into the Floatstone early. And of course also helps us draw into the supporters, which the Battle Compressor I guess also did with a VS Seeker. So Trainer's Mail, I think, is a really good card in this deck. We have 4 Ultra Ball. Once again, helps us grab any of our Pokemon, which is important for Mega Rayquaza, Shaman, also the Bronzong line, well, anything really. So Ultra Ball, really good card. Don't really need to explain much more. We have 4 VS Seeker to grab the supporters back. And as far as the supporters go, I actually also did some changes from Joffrey's list. I cut 1 Colress, he was playing 3. I think 2 are enough. It's one of those cards that it's not really good in the early game, and after we have drawn into one, we don't really need to draw into the second, because we will play it, and then we usually VS Seeker for other Colresses. So I guess having 3 is kind of overkill. I took 1 out, and the card I added was an extra Pokemon Fan Club. This is a supporter that I really want to draw in the early stages of the game. It's really good to just draw, I don't know, a Bronzong and a Shaman, or a Keldeo and a Shaman, so it's card draw at the same time that it finds an important Pokemon for our strategy. Really like the Pokemon Fan Club, and I kind of feel like having a second one is really nice. I guess if you're playing Battle Compressors, having one is okay, although that can end up prized, so once again, having 2 Pokemon Fan Club, I think it's really cool. We have a couple of Lysander as well. Also really important, as you guys know, for the strategic knockouts. We have 1 N to punish our opponent if they have taken a lot of prizes. And we have 3 Sycamore. I guess this deck doesn't want to discard as much, but Sycamore is just that good. Sometimes we discard energy or stuff like that, or cards that we generally don't need, like extra stadiums or stuff like that. Speaking about stadiums, we have 4 Skyfields. As I said, this is really important for Shamin. We want to get Skyfield going, and of course it also helps us bounce the opponent's stadiums. As far as tools go, we have the 3 Floatstone that I already talked about. Don't be afraid to drop the Floatstones early if you're playing against Seismitoad. So for example, if you're playing Cabalion, having a Floatstone in there is really important, just so that the opponent does not head ringer us, or maybe if he wants to, he has to 0-zik away the Floatstone. So that's I think really nice. Kind of forces the opponent to have stuff in hand and all that. So yeah, I have 3 Floatstone. I've been really happy with those, especially since this deck doesn't play other switching cards like Switch. So we usually have to retreat using energy. Sometimes we can't afford that, especially if we want to go with early Mega Rayquaza EX knockout. So if we start, I don't know, with a Shamin or Aegislash or something like that, we want to find a quick way to retreat into the Mega Rayquaza without having to spend an energy drop to do just that. So Floatstone also does that pretty nicely. And then of course we're playing 2 Rayquaza Spirit Links, which allow us to evolve without losing our turn. As far as energy goes, I'm still playing the 4 DCE and 6 Metal Energy, which are important to bring back with Bronzong and to attack overall. So that's the deck. I hope you guys agree with this list. If you don't, please say so in the comments below. We can have a nice discussion about the choices. So let's just play a match or two. Okay, so we're starting our match against Patriarch. He has a strange assortment of types. There's Water, Psychic, Dark, and Steel. I don't really know what to expect out of this match. So let's just go with a Rayquaza, because starting with a Shamin is pretty miserable. Yeah. And my opponent has a Seismitoad, which probably means he's playing Yveltal and Garbodor, possibly. And also Jirachi in there. So I'll start with the Pokemon Fan Club. I think I'll grab a Bronzor and can go for the Cabalion EX, because that's good against Seismitoad. But I guess, yeah, the Keldeo is just a must-have. If we manage to draw into the Floatstone here, it's going to be so good that I think it will make up for not grabbing the Cabalion. So I'm going to put this energy on the Rayquaza, because I want to draw as many cards as possible. Let's see. Still no Floatstone, but we can still Ultra Ball for another Shamin, so I think I'll just discard 1 energy. And yeah, the Secret Dash, I think at this point doesn't really matter too much. So let's just grab that Shamin. Hopefully can draw into the Floatstone. And nope, no Floatstone, unfortunately. I guess we can still bench all of these Pokemon. Yeah, having the 6th there, if my opponent trumps our Stadium, I'll just discard the Shamin. So yeah, I think I'll put that Heatran down as well. Alright, we can evolve, trying to make the most out of our turn. We still have no Floatstone on that Mega Rayquaza. Okay, so our opponent had Ringers our Cabalion, which is kind of unfortunate, but at the same time, it's one head Ringer that it did not play on the Mega Rayquaza EX, so that's nice, unless my opponent finds a second one. Okay, there's a laser, that's unfortunate, and we do fall asleep, so... And there's also the Stadium, so my opponent with a huge turn. If we still manage to draw into another Skyfield, because we're playing 4, so we still have 3 in our deck, and another Pokemon, any basic will do, we will still be knocking out this Seismitoad if we wake up, and we do, so perfect. Yeah, provided we wake up. Oh my god, we did not draw into either of those things. So, well, I guess if we didn't draw into the Stadium, it wouldn't really matter if we drew into the Pokemon or not. And our opponent is also playing Hammers. Oh my god, that's terrible. This Rayquaza is looking really silly right now, and our hand does not look right. And our opponent ends, and yeah, actually, I like this hand better. I mean, we have supporters, we have the Stadium, and we have the 6th Pokemon, so if we actually manage to draw into a DCE, yeah, and we do. That's really nice. So we will actually be able to knock this Seismitoad down. I guess my opponent will still knock our Rayquaza out next turn, because he can attack with that Seismitoad. Yeah, so I'll just go for the energy on the Heatran and just attack here, I guess. Could go for the Aegislash or the Cavalion, but that Seismitoad does not have special energy on it, so I guess that ship has sailed right now. And there's also the Muscle Band, perfect. And my opponent ends us to 4 cards, but one of those cards is a Shaymin. Provided my opponent does not trump our Stadium, we will be able to play that Shaymin down. I don't really know which Pokemon I'm going to use, I guess. If I go with the Heatran, I have to hope that I draw the VC, and I don't think that's going to happen, so I guess I'll throw the Shaymin in there. This way I can still charge up, and we did draw the VC. Oh my god, that's that's kind of funny actually. So I think I'll use Metal Links on the Heatran again. And I can actually Sky Return, so this isn't that bad. I mean, the Heatran wasn't going to kill the Seismitoad anyway, so yeah, I'll put the DCE down before playing the other Shaymin. So this way we draw an extra card, and then we can throw the Heatran, because my opponent is not going to knock it out. And I think I want to play this Colress, so I guess I'll draw an extra card out of this Rayquaza. Yeah, okay, we have the Bronzong, let's just put it down. So Sky Return. Throw the Heatran at my opponent's Seismitoad, and we have the DCE in hand, unless my opponent ends. And if he does, he's also going down on cards. We will have a Heatran ready for attack next turn. Our opponent trumps our Stadium after playing his own Mewtwo, so now we have to discard the Shaymin, and I could go for the Aegislash, but I can see it being really good later. So I think I'll just discard the Cavalion. Yeah, that ship has sailed, definitely. The Aegislash can be useful if my opponent plays a DC on one of his big attackers, like Yveltal or Mewtwo, yeah, so as long as this Heatran does not fall asleep, we'll be able to get a hit on that Seismitoad. Our opponent is thinking for a bit. Don't really know what else to expect. I hope it's not an N. There's a Headringer on the Rayquaza and a Colress. Okay, that's kind of unfortunate that our Rayquaza got Headringered. But maybe we can still evolve, because having 4 energy on the Mega Rayquaza, it's still not unattainable. It's definitely not perfect, but it's still something that we can manage. So I think I'll Metal Links this energy into the Rayquaza, having it ready for attack. Because this way, if I play the DC on the Heatran, and I hit for 130 this turn, I guess I can hit for 80, but yeah, I'll just put the Metal Links energy on the Rayquaza, and I think I'll go for a Steam Blast. I'm trying to hit as much damage as I can, because either way I've killed the Seismitoad next turn, and this way, if our opponent actually managed to play a Laser and kills our Heatran, we can still go with the Rayquaza and play second energy and knock out the Seismitoad. So I guess we would get rid of all the Seismitoad in my opponent's deck, hopefully, which would let us play the Float Zone on the Keldeo finally and do some Metal Link shenanigans at this point. It would also allow us to have the Ultra Ball and play it for another Bronzong, so which would definitely allow us to get that Rayquaza ready for attack. Our opponent plays a DCE on his Yveltal, which means the Aegislash is indeed going to be useful. At least it will force my opponent to Ice Cyclone that double colorless energy away. Okay, so our opponent does go for the Laser and knock out our Heatran. So right now I'm going with the Rayquaza because I want to put the second energy there and attack. We have the energy in hand. And I can Metal Links because that would... Yeah, I'm going to just... If we do draw the VC, we can use this Aegislash straight away. And if we don't, my opponent is not going to item lock us again next turn, probably, hopefully. And that means we can actually just play a Float Stone, so that's going to be nice. So let's just use this Rayquaza. Those 60 damage are being really useful against that Seismitoad, so definitely a reason not to play the Dragon Rayquaza, I think. Having a way to deal a lot of damage to the Seismitoad. I guess my opponent went with the Yveltal and is in 1-hit KO territory right now, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 120. My opponent could play, I don't know, a Muscle Band and another energy. That would mean 8, and then a laser would do it. Or I guess a single energy and a laser would do it, because there's a stadium there. Yeah, I think this Rayquaza EX has a high probability of not making it through this turn. But it would be fine, I guess, looking at our hand, as long as our opponent does not end us here. If we keep these Floatstones in hand, and we also have the Rayquaza and the Spirit Link and an Ultra Ball, so we can actually go for the Mega Rayquaza, because we only have one Mega Rayquaza in our discard pile, so hopefully the second one is in the deck. And we could Metal Links into the second Rayquaza that we're playing, and the DCE, my opponent went for a Scala, which is perfect, so that means no end this turn. I guess the only thing missing is the stadium, because if we manage to put the Sky Field down, we will have the 6th Pokemon. Okay, so there's the DCE, my opponent needs nothing else really, so he's just going for a huge knockout on our and he plays the Starling Megaphone, taking his own Headringer out. So we'll just go with the Keldeo, because we will be able to retreat this turn. Let's just go with a Rayquaza, I guess, and the Spirit Link. I guess at this point I'll play all of these Ultra Balls, because I don't really want to draw into all of these cards. I guess I'll try to draw as many as possible. We can Via Seeker for a Colress. So yeah, I think I'll just grab the Mega Rayquaza and I guess a Bronzong, because that leaves the most basics back into the deck and still allows us to get rid of a lot of unnecessary cards like all those supporters. So I'll just go for the Bronzong and have the Bronzor and the Shaymin after this Colress. So we need to draw a Stadium and we need to draw a basic out of these 9 cards. I think we still can do that. And if we can't, we will be in trouble, because my opponent can just Lysander out something, so maybe an N would be okay. But yeah, at this point I'm just going for the win, and we managed to get there actually, so that's all that we wanted to do. So let's just, yeah, we can put the Spirit Link down, it doesn't really matter at this point. I'll just play the Shaymin, we will Meta Links on that Mega Rayquaza, and we have the knockout here, so I'll just, yeah, I was going to Meta Links anyways to another Pokemon, but it doesn't really matter. My opponent just sees the writing on the wall and concedes. So yeah, we managed to defeat, I guess the Evolved All decks have kind of fallen out of favor, and I think it's mostly because of Rayquaza. I think that makes sense. We kind of struggled against the Seismitoads in the beginning a little bit, but I think even the non-Mega Rayquazas, the Rayquaza EXs, the basic ones, were pretty good in this game. Even with Headringers, we still managed to get knockouts. So yeah, that's this deck. It's really powerful, as you saw in the later stages of the game. We still managed to go find the Rayquaza and play it with a lot of cards. Tell me what you guys think about this deck. I definitely think it's powerful and one of the best decks at the moment. Yeah, so tell me what you think, and until the next video, see you guys. Bye!